p.m.
about the government response to Hurricane Katrina. The storm involved a massive flood, a major supply and security operation, and an evacuation order affecting more than 1 million people. It was not a normal hurricane, and the normal disaster release system was not equal to it. The system, at every level of government, was not well coordinated and was overwhelmed in the first few days. It is now clear that a challenge on this scale requires greater federal authority and a broader role for the armed forces, the institution of our government most capable of massive logistical operations on a moment's notice. 4 years after the frightening experience of September the 11th, Americans have every right to expect a more effective response in a time of emergency. When the federal government fails to meet such an obligation, I, as president, am responsible for the problem and for the solution.
But one of the most remarkable and historically significant, for that matter, passages of President Bush's speech tonight regarded race and persistent poverty along the Gulf Coast. Here's exactly what he said.
There's also some deep, persistent poverty in this region as well. That poverty has roots in a history of racial discrimination, which cut off generations from the opportunity of America. We have a duty to confront this poverty with bold action.
Racism causes poverty. That's something I've never heard a Republican say, much less in public. Amazing. We'll cover the fallout on that in the weeks to come. But first, with more from the site of President Bush's speech, we turn now to MSNBC's David Schuster. He is, as he always is, live in New Orleans. David, it looked from the pictures like it was surreal. I mean, there was nobody there. Were there people watching on the ground when the president spoke?
No, Tucker, that part of the French Quarter was really quiet, and you could see some of the Secret Service and some of the police and whatnot. But just to give you an indication of some of the precautions and some of the preparations for tonight, you can see behind the president, Jackson Square, very well lit up, lots of lighting and whatnot that was put on there. Yesterday, we couldn't quite tell whether they were going to use generator power or not, and I still don't know the answer to that. But we do know that before the president arrived tonight, all of the lights, the traffic lights in this area, a lot of the lights on the buildings around this area, went on as if they were trying to activate the power grid. Now, of course, you can see that they are all off. One might subscribe to the theory that perhaps they're putting the power grid up to maybe help the president. If you like the area, that helps with, of course, with the Secret Service and security precautions. We don't know for sure, but we know that the timing was fairly interesting. But Tucker, one other point that this underscores, and that is they do have the ability now to run power to the French Quarter, run power through areas of downtown, and that's one of the reasons why the mayor of New Orleans suggesting that the businesses should come back, that people who live in the French Quarter should be welcome to come back early next week, that he would like to see the redevelopment, the sort of rebirth of the French Quarter, as you will, as early as next week.
Now, apparently, I keep reading that there are still some people living in the French Quarter. If I were one of them and I saw the power flicker on for a moment for the president's sake and then go off again, I'd be pretty annoyed. How many people are there, would you estimate?
Well, Tucker, to be honest, I wasn't there and I couldn't get anywhere near it, so I have no idea. But I can tell you that there was a very sort of tight pool that was there. There weren't a lot of people that were allowed to that part of the French Quarter by Jackson Square. As for the other people who are sort of at these bars and restaurants that have tried to stay open, many of them, and here's like another good anecdote that may help you, Tucker. There was an alarm that went off. One of my colleagues, Mark Mullen, was describing how all of a sudden at this liquor store, an alarm goes off, and it was a sign that the power had suddenly come back on, and for whatever reason, the tripwire had been triggered, and the alarm went off, and it was very startling to a lot of people. Those are the sort of things that are now happening in the French Quarter, whether it's the power coming on, the lights coming on, the stoplights, or the alarms from some of these restaurants or bars that have been off for some time. So it's a sort of pretty weird environment now.
It sounds deeply weird. Now, when we're getting conflicting reports, as usual, about when the cities or parts of it are going to be open for business again, what's the latest on that?
Well, it's a tough question tonight because the big problem is when they want to open the hotels and some of the restaurants, the service employees, there's still not a place for them to live if they're not going to live in the hotels. One of the neighborhoods that they talk about reopening is Uptown by Tulane University, but that's the sort of housing that service employees might not be able to afford. And some of the more lower income housing areas that are sort of near downtown, they have tremendous damage along Canal Street towards the lake, of course. They had 5 or 6 feet of water, and those homes there are simply, you just can't live in them just because of the decay and the mold. So there are questions that have to be resolved about where the people who are going to work down here, where are they going to live at night. But having said that, the mayor at least wants some of the businesses starting this weekend to come back in and survey what damage was done, what can be replaced, what their general situation is. And then the mayor is suggesting that as early as Monday, that he would then allow people to start moving back into the French Quarter, assuming that they can prove that they live in the French Quarter. The one caveat on all this, and that is there's still some environmental tests that are out there. So far, the environmental tests say that there's not a permanent level of toxicity in the residue, that the air quality is fine, but there's still some other tests that could come back, and those could throw a wrench into the mayor's plans.
David Schuster in New Orleans. Every night I look forward to talking to you. I hope you're not there forever, but as long as you're there, we're going to keep coming to you. Thanks a lot.
Well, Tucker, as long as you're there and I have an opportunity to talk to you, I'll stay as long as I can.
Amen. Keep bringing us those reports from liquor stores. We appreciate it, David. Thank you. Well, I'm joined now by two congressmen from Louisiana, both from districts in the northern part of the state, both Republicans. Congressman Rodney Alexander and Congressman Jim McCreary. Thanks very much for joining us. Mr. Alexander, what did you think of the president's speech? Were you satisfied by it?
I was, Tucker. I thought he gave an excellent speech. He spelled out a clear plan of what we need to do at the federal level, working with state and local officials to get this job done.
Mr. McCreary, earlier tonight there was some conversation on MSNBC about statements that your governor, Governor Blanco, had made yesterday to the effect that the federal government ought to pick up 100% of the tab for rebuilding Louisiana. Do you agree with that? Do you think the Fed should pick up the entire bill? And do you worry about resentment from the rest of the country toward New Orleans and the state?
I don't worry about resentment, Tucker. I think the cost-sharing arrangement is yet to be worked out. Clearly, the federal government will provide the lion's share of the money required for recovery and rebuilding. I mean, the state of Louisiana, after all, has lost 30 to 40% of its tax base, and it's not realistic, I think, to expect the state to carry on normal cost-sharing arrangements with the federal government. So the lion's share will be the burden of the federal government.
I'd be interested in getting both of your takes on how your governor performed. From up here, the consensus is growing, I think, that she was not prepared for this and wasn't competent in executing a response to it. Newsweek magazine, I'm sure you both saw it, had this report in which she is quoted as saying she had no idea really what to ask the president for when she talked to him on the phone. Do you think she did a good job, starting with you, Congressman Alexander?
Well, it was obvious that the storm overwhelmed everyone. I can't point a finger at anyone. We weren't prepared in North Louisiana for the flow of evacuees that moved into Central and North Louisiana. So it was obvious that this is a lesson that we all learn and will grow from, because we were not prepared.
Mr. McCreary, what do you think? I know it's probably awkward to pass judgment on your governor at a time like this, but the rest of the country is. What do you say?
Well, the governor last night in a speech to the state legislature took responsibility for the shortcomings in the recovery, relief, rescue efforts immediately following the storm. The president has done that for shortcomings at the federal level. There were also clearly shortcomings at the local level. But now is not the time to point fingers or assess blame. Now is the time to get on with the job of making sure that the evacuees are comfortable, that they're taken care of. The president spoke about that tonight. That's our first obligation. Then to get those folks into more permanent housing, back closer to home, so that they can participate in the rebuilding of their communities. Those are the things we ought to be focusing on, Tucker. And then at the appropriate time, we passed a resolution in the House today calling for a bicameral committee to investigate the systemic problems in our emergency preparedness and any mistakes that were made by individuals. At the appropriate time, that will be done, and I'm going to be right there testifying because I was on the ground. I saw some of the problems. I can sum them up in the 3 C's: communications, command, and control. Those are the things we have to look at, but not now. At the appropriate time, we'll do that.
I hope you do. This is just so reminiscent of 9/11, where the mantra was "don't point fingers," and no fingers were ever pointed, and as a result, we're still not sure what exactly went wrong. Mr. Alexander, are you comfortable with the oversight that's going to be in place to see that this money is well spent? And where's it going to come from? You all at the federal level or the state?
Well, it's obvious that most of it will come from the federal level. And I am extremely excited that the president did tonight point out the fact that there will be oversight. It's an absolute must, and my colleagues are going to demand it, and so will I.
And Mr. McCreary, are you comfortable, and do you think that the state is prepared to administer the spending of this money?
The president spoke tonight of having well-planned, sensible rebuilding. He talked of having teams of inspector generals on the ground reviewing all expenditures. I think that's the proper attitude. I want to work with the administration and with state and local government on constructing some sort of oversight authority that will make sure that the money we appropriate from Congress is spent wisely, is spent well, and is spent honestly and transparently.
And finally, a political question. I was talking to a friend of mine who's involved in politics in New Orleans today, and he was saying that the demographic mix is likely to change a lot in South Louisiana and that it will affect politics down there from the local, maybe even at the congressional level. Do you think that's true?
I hope not. I hope that all the people who left their homes in the New Orleans area will return. It's a great city. It was a great city. It could be an even greater city now. So I'm hopeful that all the incentives that the President outlined this evening, plus some that we will probably come up with in Congress, will attract the businesses back to the New Orleans area and the individuals who once lived there.
Congressman Alexander, are you worried that people are going to stay in Houston and not come back to your state?
Well, we've gotten indication that some plan to stay, but we know for a fact that there will be many that will return. There are many in Central and North Louisiana today that will return to New Orleans when the time is appropriate, and especially if they feel like they can get a good job, housing conditions are satisfactory. Yes.
All right, Congressman Alexander, Congressman McCrary, thanks a lot for coming on us. I know it's late. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still to come, bold new plans, very bold plans from the president to resurrect the Crescent City. We talked to Louisiana's lieutenant governor about who's going to pay for all this stuff. Plus, Hurricane Ophelia lingers off the coast of North Carolina. See what's left of homes and businesses in the worst hit towns. That's right, it caused some damage. We'll show you when we come back.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
These are my closest friends. We laugh together, cry together, play together. Even our kids play together. But when it comes to our nutritional needs, we couldn't be farther apart.
That's why we've made Centrum so complete. With such a full range of nutrients, each of their bodies can put Centrum to work in the way that's best to help them stay as healthy as the day they met.
We've always been there for each other, and we're going to do everything we can to keep it that way.
With Centrum, you're more complete from A to Zinc.
Coming up on The Situation, President Bush promised billions for the Katrina rebuilding effort tonight. But who exactly gets the money, and who exactly is going to pay for it all? I'll ask Louisiana's Lieutenant Governor next.
Documents start with people like you who have ideas to share. To bring your ideas to life, choose Sir Speedy. We understand the process of moving from ideas to documents. We have the expertise to enhance your vision and all the technology to make it happen. Whether your documents are electronic or printed, Sir Speedy's global digital network will help you create, manage, and distribute them more efficiently, wherever they need to go. Sir Speedy, we are documents.
No SUV has done it before. Mercury Mountaineer is first in owner loyalty 4 years in a row. Mountaineer introduced the disappearing third row seats. And now, there's roll stability.